Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio /The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there. But let's move on to our final topic. We're going to the draft, and on Wednesday against Penn State, Indiana forward OG Anunoby, we took a while to make sure we got the pronunciation right this time.
God, I hope we did.
But Anunoby suffered a knee injury on Wednesday against Penn State, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season, not going to be able to play for any of the tournaments. He's going to be out completely, and we're not sure exactly what the knee injury is, if he tore his meniscus, if he tore his ACL, if it's a fracture. We don't know exactly what the injury is. We just know it's a knee injury. So that brought up the question of, should he stay in school or should he go to the NBA draft? And I'll throw my perspective out first before we go to you guys. Is I think he should stay. I know that he's a sophomore right now. But really, in that first year, he didn't do much because he didn't play that much. But he still had a fantastic. I mean, his percentage was pretty much the same all around the board. He actually improved his. He actually kind of declined on his 3-point shot, but he still has a nice stroke. He's really just been a lot of kind of more chucking him up this year instead of good open looks. But his percentages really stayed across the same. His blocks, steals, assists, rebounds have all gone up because he's gotten increased minutes. But you see the athleticism with him. And I think he should stay for his junior year just because, if it is something serious, and this is more if it's something serious, because if it's an ACL injury, he's not going to be able to really be picked in the first round, I don't think. I think teams are going to completely avoid him if he has an ACL injury like that. I mean, he was projected lottery pick, late lottery, and now I'm kind of iffy on that. And I think he should stay because we did see a lot of promise from him this year when he was starting, and I think that if he was a junior and is able to take all that athleticism and be the leader for Indiana, I think that actually improves his draft stock. And really, if he's able to show that he can stay healthy for a season, I think I think he could really cash in next year in 2018 for the draft.
Right, but it's all a gamble at this point. I mean, without knowing if it's a long-term injury or a something that he can get back. Right now, all that has been said is that he won't be back this year at all.
Well, that's why I love it, because we can have this conversation now because we don't know. Yep. It sucks that he's injured. Like, we feel for him, we have prayers for him, but we can have this conversation.
He's a big fan of the Fast Break podcast.
I'm pretty sure he tunes in every week.
Yeah, he does.
We can have this conversation, though, because we don't know if it's going to be long-term or short-term.
And I'm in the moment of saying, look, you're a guy who is pretty talented. You're not a standout stud yet. And I'm sorry, when I see the NBA opportunity arise, I think he's probably still worth a late one, which isn't a ton of money compared to, an early one or early lotto pick, which he could be. But I wouldn't take the risk that you come back and if you rehab it and it still doesn't feel right, you've just missed out on an opportunity of being an NBA star or of at least being in the NBA and getting that payday finally. Because everybody's got their own story of how they get to the NBA and, the different hardships they go through. So passing up on a chance to be a late one, potentially early two, I think it's just too much to pass up.
And that's the one thing we saw last year, Karis LeVert of Michigan. He was always injured, always really banged up. I believe he had a foot fracture in his senior season, so that was really what set him back. But really what ESPN's really talked about, and they have ties to NBA exclusives, or NBA executives. Weirdly enough, we don't have
we're working on
that. NBA executives. But really what ESPN's saying and what the executives are saying through ESPN was it really depends on the injury. If something like a meniscus tear, I don't really have a major impact on his draft stock. So if it's nothing serious that he can rehab and be back for workouts and tryouts and draft and draft combine stuff, he won't really fall unless he really just tanks at the draft combine. He won't really fall from that 12 to I believe it's 10 to 15 range is where they had him slotted in. So, but if it is a serious injury and he is missing a year of basketball, it's going to be that 17 to 25 range, or I would even say probably lower because Karis LeVert, it was a foot fracture and he was able to heal that up.
Yeah, but foot fractures are extremely scary when you're somebody who relies so much on your ability to transition, your ability to run. That's every step.
But Karis LeVert's a great shooter as well. So that's one thing that kind of didn't hold him back. Where Anunoby is a guy who is very athletic, who can really just is an explosive jumper, and he's fast down the court. So one thing with an ACL tear, that's going to really hurt him. And we've seen players before, they're not able to trust that ACL right away. They're not able to trust their legs right away, making cuts, driving. And if he's not able to do that for a year, then that's going to severely hurt his basketball growth. And I I understand that I think he's 19 because he was born in July.
He is.
So he's 19 years old. He'll only be 20 next year. So I mean, he's not like an old guy. If he still has the ability to grow. So I think that if he's able to grow in college, kind of get rid of all those jitters in the early season of non-conference play next year, and he's able to do that, and then come back with this explosive ferocity in conference play in the Big Ten, and then possibly the tournament if Indiana makes it. I think that's going to improve his draft stock. That hey, I have the mental capacity to come over an injury to lead my team in Indiana, to improve all of my stats, and yes, I get injured, but I'm able to step up. And I know that it's difficult picking a 20-year-old compared to all of these guys who are going to be sophomores
18.
or freshmen. But I still feel if he has a great year, he's still going to be able to stay in that 10 to 20 range.
Coming back risks another injury, and that's the thing is how much do you want to risk your chances of hey, if it's nothing major and you can stay in the 10 to 20 range. I mean there's. I mean,
and
that's pretty
are saying
secure.
17 to 25.
Yeah,
that's where it's going to fall.
That's pretty secure. I would not come back and risk another injury because then you fall into a whole other category of injury prone. You're a guy who has all the physical assets. You're 6'8", you're 215, wingspan reportedly over like 7'4", something crazy. Like, I'm sorry, you are the physical specimen you will be for the NBA. Like, all he's going to do is put on a little bit more muscle, and that's it. Like, not much is going to change. Him going back to college and proving that he can win with a bad Indiana team. I don't know what they're going to be next year, but I can tell you they're not going to be winning a championship.
Well, and that's the thing that I look at.
All Hoosier fans right now. Thanks, Dave.
Good.
Well, the Hoosiers, we all call them bad this year. They lost like 3 straight. Now they're in conference play, and the Big Ten isn't as strong as it was or it has been. So, of course, they're winning some games now. But the thing that I think of is if it's one of those short terms and he can rehab, great, go to the draft.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
If it's like a double ACL, MCL, like
with me, I'm kind of like
Torres ACL.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm kind of if it's the long term and it's going to be where he's going to have to miss and he can't rehab for the draft and he would be rehabbing into the time in the draft. I'm kind of leaning towards Sean. But I'm being pulled towards Dave's side because to me, it's one of those things where you can't passing up on the money is hard. And it's one of those things where look at even Greg Oden, for example, knee injuries. But
he's one leg was longer than the other.
He's the extreme.
He was born fucked up.
Sean, I said he's the extreme.
He's throughout.
When we look at Miles Turner, also had knee injuries coming out. He's been able to come back from it. With me,
but he was also a freshman.
With me, it's a gamble. Yeah, it's a gamble though because look at Rab this last year. His wasn't an injury, but he came back.
He just thought he could be better,
and he thought he could be better, improve his draft stock. No, it didn't happen. So I mean, there's no for sure. Hey, if you come back to college, you're going to be just as good. But the one thing I think plays into his favor. A weaker Big Ten. If it's a weaker Big Ten, then he can come back as a junior
and dominate them.
And his stats would look better, better even than now.
Right.
But you're always the re-risking of the injury is. Yeah, I need a mulligan on that one. Get TK on this. But the thing is, the re-risking is always going to be a side for go to the draft. But I would come back to college because then you can say, you know what, I'm not putting my fate in the hands of the NBA execs. I'm going to do this right. I'm going to come out. I'm going to prove myself. And then I'm going to come to an NBA team and be able to contribute from day one, not have to just sit there. And, I mean, did it work for Joel Embiid? Yeah, it worked for Joel Embiid.
But Joel Embiid went to the NBA and
that's what I'm saying. It worked for him to come to the NBA and sit there and not help from day one, but he kind of was part of the process, which that worked for.
He is the process.
He is the process. But is every other team going to follow that same mold in the NBA? Probably not. I would lean towards coming back to college, though, if I was Anunoby.
Don't forget to tell us what you think of these thoughts down in the comments. Obviously, Dave, how many years of college experience do you have?
Too many.
Too many? Ricky? No, playing college ball.
Playing college ball? Ooh, not much playing. Broadcasting's a different.
Zero, all of us combined. So obviously we do not know what's best for a draft prospect.
Yeah, but I mean, what you're going to ask him to put up?
We can give our opinion just because we don't play basketball.
What I'm saying is they can give their opinions
too.
Look
at that. He just backhanded. No. Like he backhanded us. Yeah. We should go on strike, Dave.
I'm saying me as well. I'm saying I'm saying for our viewers. I'm saying for our viewers to tell us their opinions as well.
Yeah, well, it's always a conversation.
I mean,
Ricky hates you guys. That's what I think. I'm taking from here.
No, he's backhanding us.
Anyways,
we don't know what we're talking about.
Back to OG.
I mean, if you guys expect him to come back and dominate the league, so he's going to dominate the Big Ten.
I'm not saying
dominate the Big Ten. We're just going with that.
Okay.
So he puts up 16 a night,
argument.
16 and 7 or something like that. I mean, that would be a pretty big jump because he's right now only averaging 11. So we're going to expect him to get exponentially better after
an injury.
After an injury, which is a big assumption. Not get injured again, and then hope that he goes top 5 or top 10. Because right now, if his projection is,
what
I don't think we're saying he'll jump to top 5. It's just, to me, it's one of those things where...
Look,
I don't think he's going to stay 10 to 15. If this is a serious injury, I don't think he's staying 10 to 15. I think he's going to the second round.
I think he's 15 to 30. He may slide a little early second round, but still, look, the NBA draft is purely potential. It has very little to do with what you can do right now. It's what can you become. It's what is the ultimate top end for you. Can you be a star in this league? Can you contribute at a very high level?
Can you see the court? Kind of. There might be a question there. Can you see the court?
Joel Embiid.
Okay, you have one freak of nature.
I love him though.
Well,
it's the easiest reference because he's the most successful one right now. There are other guys who have been unsuccessful.
The least successful. I bet there's more least successful
Greg
guys.
Oden.
But I'm saying more of...
You mentioned it already.
I'm saying guys that were injured going in, and there's obviously guys that were least successful. We don't remember them. We don't remember those guys that were at 130.
And the thing that's going to play into this is if, let's say for the sake of argument, he has the injury that's the long-term one, it's one of those things where also, if I was him and it's like, great, now I'm going to be a second rounder, I would have the fear, I'm not going to say the fear, but the thought of, okay, they say I'm going to go early second, but I could fall even further. What if I fall undrafted? Then I'm not on an NBA team. Then it's all on me anyway.
I don't think he won't go undrafted.
The good thing is, Ricky, remember how they have that the early opt-out or the late opt-out for the college players?
He can wait, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, by that time, he should know where he's at with his injury. Because right now, we don't have anything concrete of what's wrong with him. So by that time, this is several months away, he'll have an idea of either I'm going to be able to play in 2 months, in 2 weeks, or I'm good to go right now. I just want to be cautious and not risk another injury this year.
But what I'm saying is, let's say he does have the long-term one, the one that's going to need the extra. It's one of those, if I'm a second, like if at that point I'm like, well, they're saying I'm going to be in the second round, even if it's high second round, I would still have the thought of, well, what if I don't get drafted? Then I'm not on an NBA team. I got to wait for maybe a team signs me. That's in my mind as a college athlete. I would think, well, why not go back to school? I know I'll have somewhere to go. And I'll my future as a player will be for sure, and I won't have to do it all on my own to then try to get signed by a team year 2.
See, I know what you're saying, but I don't think this kid's going to go undrafted. I know it's for sake of the argument. For sake of the argument, I know. But
maybe somebody stuck a blender in his knee, and just that's what came out.
I hope not.
Boom. Popcorn popper. Popcorn popped his knee. No, but yeah, I think he's not going to go undrafted because, like Dave said, NBA draft is all about potential and what can you become. And when you're in guys like in the 40s, unless you're Malcolm Brogdon, which, by the way,
he's older than.
No, but real quick, by the way, go back to my mock drafts last year. I had him as a first rounder because I knew what was up with that kid.
Did you have him going to the Spurs?
Either the Spurs or the Clippers.
But yeah, we agreed on that one. We called that shit. Just to throw that out there. But no, but he is also like 24 right now, right?
Yeah, well, he was a senior.
He's an old man.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. If Anunoby stays till a senior, he's like 22.
Yeah,
he's not even old. Like I look at him and I feel like if he's gonna be in that if he
Brogdon's 24.
I feel like he should declare for the draft and go with the late opt out like you brought up because I totally forgot that was an option, which is fantastic for the NBA draft. But I feel like he should do that, and then if he's not right with his draft stock, where if it does fall from 17 to 25, and guys really kind of jump him with great play in the tournament and just great combines, and he's falling at like 25 to 45, then I say, all right, I'm gonna jump out. I'm gonna go back to Indiana. I'm going to rehab my knee. I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. And, hey, maybe I don't play the whole season. Maybe I come back at, like, conference play like Harry Giles has done. And as long as he can stay healthy for those last 15 games and really shows the same athleticism, then, boom, he's back where, he's in that 17 to 25 range. And I feel like that might be the smartest thing for him to do. Because
potential.
I understand that, there's obviously the potential of missing out on money. But still, I feel like you can get a lot if you go back to Indiana. And we're all talking about hypotheticals. He can be fine and be going back to the draft combine and be back at that 10 to 15 range. But he does look very athletic. He does look very strong. But anyways, don't forget to tell us what you think about all of our topics, the Carmelo Anthony, the Ricky Rubio, the OG Anunoby topics, because we want to hear from you. If you download us on Blog Talk Radio, thank you so much. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But anyways.
And also a big announcement. We're now on Stitcher. So for the people that wanted us on Stitcher, we're on Stitcher.
Boom. We're now on Stitcher, dropping bombs on the Fast Break Podcast.
iTunes, Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio.
Wherever you want us,
YouTube,
we're there.
Wherever.
You can
even
find
MVP.com.
Pornhub, X-Hamster.
Maybe not there. No, not there.
That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Fast Break Podcast. Thank you to Dave and Ricky, and thank you for watching us and listening to us. But that is going to wrap it up. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Oh, shit. It's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.